And his son Robert Rodale bought this farm, moved here in '72, and Robert Rodale and his wife Ardith led the mission and the vision here. Robert went to Moscow to launch a new magazine in 1990 and was killed in a car accident, and that really threw the place for a loop. You know, he was the spiritual leader here. In 1981, he was down in Washington, D.C., which he was always making regular visits there, and he walked out of a meeting very frustrated, and he said, okay, when are you going to stop snickering at me? When are you going to take me seriously? Organic is important, organic agriculture, and we have what we think is some pretty good information. And they said, where's your data? You have no data, Bob. Where's the science? That's what the other agricultural groups have that you don't. He came back to the farm and he said, okay, now I know what to do. And he hired a couple of scientists to help him design this experiment. So this is the Farming Systems Trial, started in 1981, and what we have is conventional right next to organic. It's the oldest trial of its kind in North America. There's a group in Switzerland that copied it the year after, so we're a year older than they are. But what kind of information are we getting out of here after 30 some years? Again, it's not 3 years, it's not 13 years, it's now 32 years of data. So what do we know? Conventional, right next to organic. What does Monsanto say? Organic can't feed the world. Well, we've proven that wrong, because after 30 years, yields are exactly the same. No scientist would say, oh, look, the line stops here and the line stops here. It doesn't exist. They're the same, and farmers don't think year to year, they think long term. So after 30 years, we know that the yields are the same, and can organic feed the world? If Monsanto can feed the world, so can we. Here's what we think. Monsanto can feed the world using their chemicals and their genetically modified organisms, but what don't they feed? The soil. So eventually the soil becomes depleted. We think that glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup, actually binds up nutrients in the soil. So that's what we're studying this year. We have genetically modified crops in this trial, corn and soy, and we are studying whether or not the Roundup is actually binding up nutrients. If that's the case, we have a big story to tell the world about Monsanto's story. So the question is, here you are on this organic mecca, and you're growing genetically modified organisms. This part of the farm is not certified organic, and we don't sell anything out of this part of the farm as certified organic. It's experiments. So we have 60-foot rows by 300-foot rows, and we have 6 different treatments. We use legumes as the nitrogen source, and we do a till and no-till system. We use composted manure as a nitrogen source, and we do till and no-till. And then the other 2 is conventional chemical fertilizers, pesticides, till and no-till. So 6 different treatments. And out of those treatments, here's what we know. Yields are the same. So it's indisputable. Secondly, we use about 45% less energy. Now, how did we come up with that? When you make petroleum-based fertilizers, petroleum-based pesticides, they burn up a lot of energy. It's high pressure, high temperatures, and the petroleum itself. So we measure it, everything by megajoules, like calories. And when you put organic next to conventional, it's 45% less energy. We make about $588 an acre corn on the organic, $197 an acre on the conventional. So economics are better, environmentally it's better, energy-wise it's better, and the yields are the same. Question?
How do you keep the conventional from contaminating?
Well, that's a good question. So let me ask you this. How do we keep conventional?
We don't.
from contaminating because we're
The
surrounded.
water, yeah.
We're surrounded. Now soy pollen only moves a few feet because it's down low, but corn pollen can go hundreds of miles. And that's all GMO corn and soy all around us. Now what we typically do out here is we plant our corn, so you either do it by space or timing. Well, we don't have the space. So we plant our corn so that they pollinate at different times. So we eliminate some of the drift, but like I said, it's all around us. This guy's been in corn for 45 years. And he's, GMO for 20 plus. We have another farmer that we're working with. He's been coming to our field days for 7 years. Last year he came to us and he said, okay, give me a little biology. Let me see what happens. I said, all right, well, what do you want to do? You 10 acres, 100 acres? He said, no, 1,000. He has 4,000 acres, all corn. So we put compost tea in the furrow when he planted the corn. Well, one of the really important things about growing organically, especially corn, is that you have a lot of fungi. It's really important. Understand that his corn is covered with fungicide. So we were like, we don't know if this is going to work or not, because he's already, their corn is already treated. They plant really early, so it's cold and damp, and so there's lots of opportunity for fungal disease, so that they coat the seed to begin with. And it's GMO, he's a Monsanto guy, but we sprayed compost tea in the furrow when he planted, and then we did 2 more treatments of compost tea after germination. He told us if we got 1 kernel of corn per ear on that 1,000 acres, that would be a truckload. We got 15 bushels more yield per acre out of those 1,000 acres than the rest of his 3,000. So guess what? He bought his own compost tea brewer this year. He's continuing the trials. So he's one of those guys that's looking at this like, maybe there's some happy medium. And I think, I just met Secretary Vilsack this week down in DC, and he said his job is really trying to see if we can pull the 2 communities together. So there's 2 schools of agriculture in the United States right now, both of them based on good science, well-respected sciences. One is called chemistry, one is called biology. We believe in the biology side. Most of what's happening in the United States is on the chemical side. So 90% of the soybean grown in the U.S. is genetically modified. 80+%, 78 or thereabouts of corn is genetically modified. So the chemical is dominating right now. We think that it works in the short term. It does perform, but it doesn't feed the soil. So what's happened out here in the 30 years to the soil? In the conventional beds where we're using the chemicals, the organic matter, the life, is flatlined. It hasn't changed at all, and in some of the beds, some of the trials, it's depleted. In the organic beds from 1981 until present, 2.5 times, not percent, 2.5 times more organic matter than what was present when we started. So we're building soil, they're depleting soil. Excuse me. I start to foam at the mouth when we get into the
I know how you feel.
It's important stuff. So that's what this trial is all about. So we've got lots of good data, lots of good information, and it's now being replicated, as I said, in Costa Rica. The Chinese took our farming systems trial data and translated it. They had to get permission from us, but we gave it to them. They've translated it into Chinese. They've distributed over 10,000 of our pamphlets over in China now. They're interested in replicating our trials. They get it. Understand that the Chinese are now buying United States USDA certified organic food. Wow. They don't even use their own food. Wow. They're buying from us. So they get it. We have a board meeting on Wednesday here, and it's to discuss what's going to happen next. And I want to have the board meeting right out here in front of our signage. we're going to put our board members on a cart, bring them out here. We're going to have benches out here, weather permitting, and we're going to discuss right here. And my first comment is going to be, here's your national treasure. Nobody else has this. Everybody uses this data, but nobody else has it. Now, what do you want to do? We are going to continue the trials for sure this coming year, but the question is, should we continue with the GMO or should we eliminate it from the trials? So that is for discussion, and we're bringing in some scientists and our own research scientists to discuss with the board what's going to happen next. So it's kind of interesting. We think that it's important to grow the GMO because that's what's happening across the country. And if our information is to be valid, I think we need to have the GMO here, but that's what will be for discussion with our board. So it's going to be an interesting day on Wednesday. Questions?
Do you have any problems getting the GMO seed? Is it Monsanto seed? Do you buy it every year?
Yeah, we buy it every year. You have to buy it every year.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to keep seed, as you know. So no, we don't have any trouble getting it.
They know that you're doing this testing, and
yeah, I'm sure they do. I mean, we don't communicate much with Monsanto.
yeah.
Another piece of information that you should know is what they call super weeds. You heard about that? Okay. So our third year out here, we got super weeds. So now we spray Roundup out here, and we come out and spray, and some of the weeds become resistant. And there's I think 14 weeds now across the United States that are resistant to Roundup. And we have a couple of those varietals. So now what do we have to do to get rid of the weeds? Now we have to come back out and spray with another pesticide. So it's an added cost. It's an added environmental impact because a lot of it leaches. So we're spraying atrazine and we're spraying 2,4-D, which is an old chemical.
Agent Orange.
It used to be, yeah. It's the active ingredient in Agent Orange. That's what they used in Vietnam, and it's back, and it's the savior now for, you know, this super weed problem. So we have our guys that have to come out here and spray that, and it's not a good day for me. Yes.
How do you stop that contamination, cross-contamination? Like, do you really target spray like you don't spray liberally like a conventional farmer would?
No, we don't. Our equipment, though, does mimic what they do out in the Midwest. We have combines and we have large, plows and planters and so on, because we don't want this to be garden-like. We want it to be what the farmers do out in Iowa, so that so it validates what we're trying to accomplish. Yes.
Is it possible to change a GMO crop back to organic crop?
The field itself?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So we would have to eliminate all synthetic chemicals, fertilizers, pesticides, seed, and it takes 3 years.
3 years?
Yes.
So it's possible?
It is possible, yeah, but it's a 3-year transition. That's one of the big roadblocks for farmers that want to go back to organic. It's 3 years that they have to sell their crop as a conventional crop, even though they're doing everything organically. That's the other work we're doing. We don't think it takes 3 years. And so we have GMO. Now let's convert some back to organic. And does it really take 3 years? We think it takes less. If you put the right biology in the soil, it binds up heavy metals, it binds up a lot of the chemicals that would flush into the groundwater and so on. I don't want to tell you what we think. Our hypothesis is a lot shorter than 3 years, but we want to prove that. That's one of the experiments we're working on. And then we want to go to the USDA and say, change the rules. It's not 3 years. It's only whatever we think it is, or whatever we prove it is. Okay? Yeah.
You might have said this, but what are the crops that you're using in the trials?
We grow primarily corn and soy.
Okay.
I mean, we grow other crops out here, cover crops in the no-till. We grow wheat out here. We've grown
oats. But it's really
oats.
Looking at commodity crops.
Yes. Again, it's the reason being, Bob Rodale designed it so that it would impact the large farms out in the Midwest. So if we're growing tomatoes out here, that has no impact on some guy that's getting off the tractor in Iowa. He doesn't grow tomatoes other than maybe in his home garden. So that's an interesting point. What percentage of the agriculture in the United States is vegetables?
5.
1.5%. 1.5%. The vast majority of it is corn and soy. And they put it in everything. And yes, go.
Yeah, we're supposed to eat 5 a day.
GMO corn, is that edible?
Yeah.
Like straight off the cob, or is that?
No, it's all feed corn. It's for livestock.
So the edible corn is not GMO.
It is.
Yes,
A version.
There's some.
If it's organic, it is not genetically modified.
But if it's not,
If it's not, it's your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. I don't know what the farmer grows. That's why they're trying to go to this process of labeling. Okay, and so Monsanto says when they want to, corn is corn, and we say okay, if that's the case, then label it. Oh no, ours is patented. We don't have to label it. We're special. So they play both sides of the game. And
That's what Daniel was telling us.
Monsanto used to be called a chemical company. What are they called now? They don't call themselves a chemical company. They're biotechnology. Okay, so they changed their name on purpose. They don't want to be a chemical company. They're biotech. Remember the old, what was it called? Chemlon.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
Chemlon? They changed their name too. They're called True Green now.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I mean they're not stupid.
Camelot.
They changed their name to True Green and they put a picture of grass and a dog on the back of
Doesn't
their
have
trucks.
leukemia.
So it really is all driven by dollar bills, and we're a small nonprofit. Our budget doesn't look anything near what Monsanto's looks like, and so we're funding as best we can these trials and these experiments with the hope in mind that you all can help us get the message out to your constituency that you should only be eating organically. That's the only way that you know. It's not perfect, but when you see the USDA organic stamp on the product, trust it. That's the best we can do right now. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. Yes? Yeah, we apply for grants. We have money from foundations, and we have lots of private money as well. So we do a program called Your 2 Cents. We take 2 cents per case good of product sold. So we have an orange juice company out of Florida called Uncle Matt's Organic Orange Juice. Every time they sell a case, they put 2 cents aside, and at the end of the quarter, they send us a check. We've raised about $60,000.
Wow.
So I talked to your foundation people. You have 70,000 in your group, right? In your organization.
Right.
So here's what I proposed. Listen to this. What if you all gave 2 cents per hour for 1 day a week? That's 16 cents a day, 5 days a week for 50 weeks. You're all going to take 2 weeks off. So to make the math easy, it's about $50 a piece. But take $50 times your 70,000, and now we have in the bank $350,000. That money, our 2 cents program, goes to support new organic farmers, veterans that want to go into organic farming, anybody who wants a scholarship to go into organic agriculture, they want to go take a 4-year degree. And we also support research projects. And we have grants, people are writing grants to us in combination of those. So we have veterans that are new farmers that want to do a research project, and we're writing checks to those people to get them started. So imagine what your group could do on the impact side of things at $50 a year per each. And my proposal was that out of that money, we would hire a full-time ADA person on staff here at the Rodale Institute to be the direct conduit